Good morning. I hope you all are good and safe. Today in this video we are going to study the summary of poem A Legend of Northland by Folk Carey. This poem is a ballad which includes short stanzas and dialogues. Central idea of the poem. This poem is a folk tale passed down from one generation to another, which teaches us not to be selfish. It is meant to be read by small children. It is based in Northland, a very cold place, where once Saint Peter came to the door of a little woman who was baking cakes and asked her for a cake as he was feeling very weak due to a fast. She was selfish and did not even give him a small piece. Saint Peter cursed her and told her that she was not fit to live in human form and enjoy food and warmth. He turned her into a woodpecker who has to bore a hole in hard and dry wood to get its scant food. The woman was punished for her greed and selfishness. Now see the summary of this poem stanza-wise. In stanza 1 and 2, the poet introduces the place from which her story is derived, which is the Northland, where the days are short and nights are long in winter. It is so cold in that season that people cannot sleep comfortably the whole night and often wake up. As the nights are very long, they are also not able to sleep the entire night. When the snow falls, people like to go sledging by tying reindeers to their sledges to pull them. Because of the cold, children wear heavy woolen and fur clothes that cover them up fully and make them look like bear cubs. In stanza 3 and 4, it is explained that parents in the Northland tell their children a story. Although the poet does not think the story is true, it should be told. Nonetheless, because it teaches children an important lesson. Then the poet begins to tell the story. The story is about Saint Peter as he traveled around the world preaching the word of God. In stanza 5 and 6, poet told the story of Saint Peter. Saint Peter came to a woman's house in the Northland just when she was baking cakes in her fireplace for herself. Saint Peter's body was pale and tired at the end of a long day, during which he had been fasting. To sustain himself, he asked the woman to give him only one of the many cakes that she was baking. This story is continued in stanza number 7 and 8. So the woman baked a very small cake, but before she could give it to Saint Peter, she started thinking that it was too big to just be given away like that. So the woman went on to make an even smaller cake, but this also looked as big as the first one to her. In her third attempt to make a cake so small that she wouldn't mind giving it away, she took an extremely small lump of dough, and when she rolled out the dough, her cake was as flat and thin as a wafer. However, she couldn't even bear to give that small cake away. The woman said that the cakes that seemed small when she herself ate them were all too big to be donated for free. As a result, she ended up keeping all the cakes on the shelf and not giving any to Saint Peter. Now in stanza number 11 and 12, Saint Peter, he became angry, and what he did is explained here. This angered Saint Peter because he was hungry and weak and needed some food. It is not easy to anger a saint, but the selfish woman had been able to do so. So Saint Peter put a curse on the selfish woman, telling her she did not deserve to have such comforts of human life like a warm fire, a house to live in, and good food to eat whenever she wanted. Saint Peter cursed the woman that she would have to build her own nest like birds do, and must dig holes into hard, dry wood to get food to feed herself. The woman went up the chimney of her house, being speechless, and had turned into a woodpecker. This woodpecker could be seen flying out of the top of the chimneys. In stanza number 15 and 16, it is explained that as the woman had been wearing a red cap in human form, as a woodpecker, her head was still the same shade of red in color. However, all the clothes she had been wearing seemed to have been burned and had become black, and that is what the color of the woodpecker's body was. The poet says that every schoolboy living in the villages had seen this woodpecker and that she still digs into the bark of trees looking for worms and insects to feed on. This was the summary of a poem, A Legend of the Northland, written by Fobe Cary. Poetic devices used in this poem are: first is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of a consonant sound in two or more close words. In stanza 1, that, they, them, through, th sound is repeating. Stanza 2, they, the, th sound is again repeating. Look like, L sound is repeating, so it is alliteration. Second poetic device is repetition. In stanza 1, away is repeated. In stanza 9, rolled word is repeated. And in stanza 13 and 16, boring word is repeated. Third type of poetic device used in this poem is simile. Simile is the comparison using words like as, like, or so. In stanza 2, the children look like bear's cub. Here, children are compared to bear's cub. In stanza 9, baked it thin as a wafer. Here, cake is compared to a wafer. This is all about the poem A Legend of the Northland.